So, hi everyone. I'm sitting here with Tendril Rajendran from Sutherland, and Tendril heads the talent acquisition function there. She has also been extremely busy, and you will soon find out why. But she's taken the time out to share her insights with all of us. Tendril, thank you so much for joining us for this summit and this session today.
Thank you, Vinny. It's a pleasure connecting with you. And I'm definitely looking forward to the next couple of minutes of our conversation.
Thank you.
All
So,
right.
Tendril, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the responsibilities you're shouldering at Sutherland? And also, if you can take us through the hiring process.
Okay. So Vinny, I lead talent acquisition for Sutherland, and I'm an AVP there. Prior to joining Sutherland, I was with Accenture for almost 13 years. I took care of technology hiring. Some verticals of technology hiring is what I did across India, and have done multiple roles within Accenture. Prior to Accenture, I was with Stancy, Scope International, and did a HR shared services role. So I've done various kind of roles in the last 17 years, and that's been my overall years of experience all along. The last 1 years have been very eventful at Sutherland, and especially the last 3 to 4 months, when the entire world is out fighting for COVID. We've been out busy fighting to get our candidates onboarded because of all the practices that we need to ensure. At the same time, we also need to take care of our people. So that's been that's what has been keeping us busy in the last 3 to 4 months.
I think that's really brilliant. What you just said that your candidates onboarded, I would like to share with the audience. What are the numbers you've recently hired, and how much do you typically hire each year? And has it been the same also right now, or even otherwise? What are the numbers you've hired? Because they are very promising.
Yeah. So since April, we've been hiring close to 3,500 folks, and all across. It has not just been for existing businesses where we've seen growth. It's also been additional new clients who've come our way, asking us to see whether the relationship will work effectively. We've been ensuring that. We've been ensuring that we maintain our connect with our clients so well, and at the same time we also want to prove to them that our efficiencies will never get impacted. So that's been pretty hectic for us the last 3 months, and all along our clients have been pretty happy with the kind of numbers that we've delivered, both in terms of onboarding as well as getting the right kind of talent into the organization.
So, Thendril, tell us how does that work? So, how do you plan in general who you want to hire? What are the kind of roles that are, and how does the whole process of hiring work for those who are now going to be looking for jobs and starting their careers or even looking for a switch in their career?
Got it. So, see, for a candidate, right? For any new candidate, the most expected attribute that I would want our recruiters to focus on is to see how well they are adapting to the environment. The agility, the flexibility is what will be relevant for us in the current situation, because if we all knew the last 6 months back, we never realized or expected a situation like this, and all of a sudden we were thrown into this new challenge, and people who were agile, people who are flexible to accommodate this change and make a change to their livelihood, their lifestyle, their work environment, all of that made a huge difference to us. There are programs where we expect the candidates to be very careful, in terms of data security, and our employees have been living so well to the expectations of the clients right now. So for any new aspirant, flexibility is the primary key. And apart from flexibility, it's the right attitude that a candidate will need to have, uh, because those are things that will make a huge difference to us as an organization. We do have our own cultural elements which we expect the candidate to fulfill, to meet up as we onboard the candidates. But it is the inborn nature of the candidate to see how they want to be relevant to the organization and to the role that they will get into.
Brilliant. And do you prefer any particular style of recruitment? Like, do you like to do on campus interviews or PPOs, or how do you get your talent on board?
So for different kind of skills, we have different kind of recruitment process that we want to lay down, because a fresher talent is something that we obviously will want to reach out to campus, because that's where you get the right kind of talent at the right time. And we also I mean, campus is for us the biggest source that we want to consider, because the kind of candidates who are there are easily trainable. They do have an understanding of what the organization is all about before they before they attend interviews, whereas an off campus fresher who comes in, for this particular individual, this is just another job that they will want to come in, right? So uh, campus would be the primary source. The secondary source that we will look at is our referrals, because these are people whom we want to hire through our known people, right? So referrals bring in the right kind of talent because they know what is required for the organization. For experienced positions, we do have a different approach. We primarily source through job portals, we refer to LinkedIn, and also other sourcing measures that we would want to take in.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Right.
And tell me one thing, because you've done this for so many years now. What is the most challenging part of being an employer, or even being a recruiter first and then an employer?
Um, See, the biggest challenge being a recruiter, right, is to identify the right talent for the organization, right? I mean, that's the basic challenge, because if you look at the earlier scheme of things, traditional hiring methodologies, most of the time a recruiter would just go by the gut feel. I mean, yes, there are questions, the candidate responds to those questions, but in the current scheme of things, there is AI based assessment platforms that are available, and the recruiter has in their own hands a platter to choose from. However, the biggest conflict that I believe as a recruiter is for you to look at an assessment metric versus your instinct, right? Because that is where the fundamental challenge is for me as a recruiter or even a hiring manager. Because if I'm a hiring manager and I am expected to look into a tool and say, okay, these are the metrics that the tool throws up, and based on this metric I will need to eh, say yes to a candidate, the hiring manager may not want it because he will still want to go with his instinct, right? So that marriage between the AI based tool and the instinct is what makes it more challenging.
Very interesting. And what jobs do you think are becoming redundant now? Because a lot has happened, and I guess
Mhm.
across industries there have been some shifts.
Mhm.
So, what are the jobs that you've noticed within your industry that are now taking a backseat or disappearing and
Mhm.
becoming completely redundant?
See, I would answer it slightly differently in terms of what are the new jobs that are emerging. Because, see, for example, right now, customer service, long back it was just on telephone, right? Now there are bots that do the call, that respond. Then in fact, there was a very recent conversation where we were discussing, should we just go with bots completely for interview process or have the human intervention, right? But I as personally may not enjoy 100% conversation with a bot, right? So there is the human intervention that is equally important. What happens is when the human intervention comes into play, there is a lot of emotional intelligence that is expected of a candidate, right? So I cannot see a bot can say, okay, what is the answer? What is your question? Okay, is this your question? This is the answer. But I may be expecting a different kind of a response to that particular question. So, quote an example of a typical food delivery, conversation. the bot will only ask you three questions in response to your first question. Okay, and then you answer to that question, and then there are three more additional questions that come into play. So the biggest challenge or irritation or frustration that a customer faces is, why do I need to deal with something like this, right? So similar same example of how this moves to a customer service kind of a relationship with a candidate, with a customer and the employee. So the employee will need to ensure that the emotional connect is established with the customer. So empathy is very critical. The emotional quotient is very important for the candidate, for the employee to connect with the customer. In fact, there were some researches that I read through, and I found that there are almost 37% of our people who are worried that they will lose their jobs because of automation, whereas 74% of people are ready to learn new skills to and that's the biggest relief that we can see, right? I still remember 5 years back we were discuss there were multiple forums where we used to discuss saying, all of these jobs that are currently in existence, there will be only 15% of these jobs which will continue to be around in the next 10, 15 years, and we are seeing that as a reality. And that's really shocking, right? I mean, while it is shocking, it's a great opportunity for our new age people to figure out how to align to what is expected by any of the organizations. So the flexibility to learn new skills is the primary expectation in the new talent. In fact, another report said new skills are our future currency, right? So as and when you learn new skills, it is not the money, it is the skill that will eventually enable you to be successful. So that is very critical for any of the aspiring candidates.
And I suppose those are the skills that will make them employable. Is there?
Yes, very much, because so many of our people, our candidates, graduate from colleges. Not all of them are employable. I guess right now it is 50 to 60% of the candidates who are actually employable. While the percentages have increased in the last couple of years, there is still, we still don't know what the future is, right? And will this employability continue to increase or will it reduce? Is the concern.
Okay, lovely. So, coming back to, like you said, there are these many people who are coming out and they may not all be employable. It just took me back to your placement processes.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that sometimes when you're hiring a lot,
Mm-hmm.
there's one interviewer and lots of interviewees. I
Right.
want you to shed light on, is there a planned methodology or a process, or is it just okay, today we are interviewing and we just keep, because we've seen those, right, insight on
Right.
TV, and maybe that okay,
Right.
there's one interviewee after another, but is there a cap? Because wouldn't fatigue set in even with the interviewer? Like, I think if I had to see somebody after interviewing 5 or 7 people, I might not like that seventh person.
Right.
Or maybe I might just like that seven so much that I'll forget that I even like the second one. So, how
Mhm.
does that work?
Okay. So when I moved from core HR to recruitment, I was thinking maybe a couple of years, because I need to know the other facets of HR. But when I moved into recruitment almost 10 years back, I never realized that I will get stuck here. But it is so I mean, it's so fulfilling, right? So in a campus interview process, there could be exceptions, and I'm not denying it. But my understanding of recruiters is that they actually enjoy that job. They enjoy meeting so many people, on an average 25 to 30, and even sometimes 35, because for them, they meet multiple people, different kind of people, and sometimes it's very monotonous, but most of the times it is to get to know new people. And of course there are new experiences that they get to know. I still remember a conversation with one of my candidates, almost 6 7 years back. he was a mechanical engineer, because he wanted to get into. I mean, that was his aspiration. But he was sitting for a software interview. So I said, why? Then he said, my family background is like this, and I need to earn. So I actually ensured that he was placed. He was very good. He scored 94% in his 12th, and then for me, those are talent that we will need to invest in, because they will make a huge difference to the organization, right? So that's how I would look at taking those interviews. If I am a recruiter, I would love to do as many interviews as possible.
Got it. So I have some questions for us from
Mhm.
the audience, from those who are aspiring for jobs.
Okay.
First one is how would you describe a perfect or even a near perfect resume?
Okay. One thing that I get completely, I mean, I just can't accept a person sending a resume with spelling mistakes. Okay. So that to me is a complete no. Because if you do not have the time to read through your resume, then how much are you ready to invest in learning, invest in in building your skills, and invest yourself in the organization? So to me, that's a big no-no. I'm not saying that we are all experts in spellings, but spell check is available. Then there are your friends who can validate this for you, and there are so many times we will miss out to see the obvious error. And those are things that you should always, as a candidate, the aspirant should definitely show his or her resume to at least 5 different people and take their point of view. I
Hmm.
mean, to me, that's a big put off. The moment I see a mistake, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? Right? You don't care about showing the right kind of profile to me, right? The second expectation that I would have of a candidate in again, apart from the spelling mistakes, the alignment, etc., I would expect the candidate to have a 2 to 3 pager at max, not beyond that, because none of us have the time and patience to sit and read through the entire set of document, right? And some things that I've found very difficult to understand is, you still you will struggle to find the location of the candidate. So some aspects like location, years of experience, or age of the candidate, because those are things which are relevant, which will help us understand whether they are freshers or experienced folks. In one go, for a recruiter, it's easier for them to scan the profile in like 10 to 15 seconds, right? I think that's the key for a perfect resume.
Okay, lovely, fantastic. And now I'll take you to the other side of the interview, which is a follow up. How
Okay.
does one follow up with companies after an interview?
I would like to be very honest here. The recruiter is so tied up with so many other responsibilities that he or she will not have the bandwidth to actually call up a candidate and give the feedback saying you're selected or not selected, right? So if the recruiter has interviewed you on your phone, on your mobile phone, please do not call back the recruiter on the phone, right? So that's see, I mean, I would always prefer somebody to first message me before they call me, because my phone is still my personal space. While I may have used it for making a call for work, it doesn't give you any authority to call me back on the same number and ask me for feedback, right? So you could introduce yourself and don't just say, hey, I attended interview, right? I mean, see, these are all real life examples, and I'm sure you can
Even as
relate to
you're
it.
saying, I'm relating to you because it sounds so real when you're saying it's happening.
So, see, and I wouldn't blame the candidates also, because they are fresh, they have no understanding of what the market is all about. But the moment they start seeing the other side, right, the other picture, I think things will be a lot more different. See, I as a recruiter would like a candidate to message me saying, hi Tendril, this is so and so. if you remember, I attended an interview on this particular date with you, and you had told me that you will come back to me in a week's time. So can you let me know if you're moving forward, right? And that would make a lot of difference to me and give me a lot of respect on the candidate, right? Rather than him or her calling me at 10 o'clock in the night and asking me for feedback, right? There have been most of our recruiters who have gone through miserable times because of candidates doing that activity, right? Because they just don't get their work life balance. And while on one end we expect the recruiters to ensure a proper closure, it is also the reality that each of the recruiters are currently, they are all stretched, right? Because we are in an environment where we stretch our recruiters to ensure that our work is done. And there are critical business that comes in, and there are times that they stretch. They don't sit idle for the whole day or even for 2 hours for them to attend to these calls. So that's, to me, is the biggest ask of the candidates. Just send out a message and give the context of your interview to the recruiter, so that the recruiter can come back to you with a response.
I think
and
that's nice.
and sorry, if the recruiter is not still responding, then I will blame it on the recruiter.
Okay. No, but that's nice. It kind of gives a picture because often people don't know. Of course, the
Hmm.
late night calling also, I think lately the younger generation doesn't have those
Yeah,
boundaries because they all come alive later. But
true, true.
they may also not, they may know that they don't have to do it as manners or courtesy, but not
Hmm.
as what is that person going through, what is a
Very true.
recruiter, what is happening with the recruiter at this point. And just to clarify that they have so much to handle can put things in perspective for all the candidates who are looking to follow up, and they will probably know what time they need to. Have we frozen again?
Yes,
Okay.
so much to handle.
Yes, so I think I'm just saying that they will all know then, one, they will start to see things from the other person's perspective
Hmm.
also, and then it's easier to figure out what time can I leave the message, in how much time can I anticipate the call, and
True.
also at what point should I stop blaming myself, like you said. After that also, if the recruiters don't respond, then I know as a candidate that okay, now I'm not getting but
A
I need to do
response.
things right before I start disturbing the recruiter.
True.
I think that's really a very very interesting and clarifying insight. So
Great.
we're going to now move to the third section, which is a
Hmm.
fun section. So literally just
Okay.
quick one line rapid fire sort of answers, and I call
Okay.
it quick hire and fire round. So
Okay.
what is the one quality in a candidate which is an absolute hit with you, like a high?
Honesty.
Okay.
A candidate who's being honest about what he wants to share. See, there is a very interesting, and I'm sorry, this is a higher and fire round, but very brief example here. There are candidates who believe that you have to only give a nice picture to the interviewer. So I still remember this feedback which has come to me saying, even your weakness, you should say things like, "Oh, I like to work long hours. That's my weakness." I mean,
I'm a
don't do that.
perfectionist, and that's my weakness. That's the one I've heard very
True. So
often.
don't do that. I mean, just be yourself and tell us what is the right thing that you want to share with us. And if we believe that this is what we want in the organization, we would love to take you.
Fantastic. And what is the short miss with you, like a definite fire?
Oh, attitude. See, attitude is good. There is a very thin line between the right kind of attitude versus snobbish attitude, or the attitude that I mean, right? So, there are some people who do it so well, so beautifully well, that we want to hire them. And there are some people who really find it very difficult to manage that. So that's one thing that's a put off for me.
Interesting. What's your favorite interview question?
Um, okay, what's my favorite interview questions? So, for me, what I would want to hear from a candidate is, in a particular experience, what is one thing that changed for them in terms of their belief, in terms of, um, for example, there was a particular road accident which made them believe how life is very important, right? So that will give a very different perspective about a candidate, in terms of what is something that keeps him going. What is one, and it could be anything, because these are freshers that we will hire for, and we can't ask them talk about a project that you did. These are very cliche questions, right? I mean, we need to move forward from that and connect with people in a much more emotional manner, so that we know that we are hiring the right talent for future.
Interesting. No, I think that's a very, very good insight. In fact, I love the interview because through all these little examples and stories that you have said, I'm sure a lot of people will find a connect, and they might start becoming a lot more aware and cognizant of what they should do and what they shouldn't do. On a parting note, what is the one key advice that you would give to all job aspirants, whether it's freshers, whether it's someone looking for change, at a time like this?
I would clearly want them to be very well prepared before they attend an interview. They should know the organization pretty well. And it is very important that they spend quite a number of hours preparing for the interview, making notes, and reading it through, rather than just see. Today, information is in your hands, right? I don't want them to just read through, and I may be just old school of thought still. What will be important is to read through and then make notes, so that you can actually relate to it. And when you speak with passion. The moment you read, try to put it in your head and then talk through it, it may actually not give you the kind of results that you expect. And if it's an organization that's your dream organization, then go completely prepared. And in the interview, you have to be honest. Don't If you don't know something, it's okay to say you didn't know that. And people really value people who come candidates who come up with real answers. And that's the only advice that I have for them.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time and for joining us and sharing all these amazing nuggets of wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Vinny. Nice talking to you today.
Likewise.
Right.